Welcome back to the beginning and in Genesis 2. Whoa, whew, a lot of revelations in Genesis 2. It's God rested. In Genesis 2, it talks about God rested, and He rested after He had created everything that was made, was created by God. And the day He rested was the seventh day. God rested and took a break from all that He had done. And this is very important in our lives, that we need to understand that there must be a time of rest. There must be a time where you just break away from the hustle and the bustle of life. The stress of life. Who wants to work 7 days every week? From Monday or from Sunday to Sunday working. There must be a time between there that we rest. And this is a Bible principle that we must rest. And after God had done all of that and rested, it said that God formed man. He made man. Woo! And man was made in the likeness of God, and He breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Wow! After God had planted everything, then He made man. And it is said that also after He had made man, that he saw, God saw that man was lonely, and even man recognized that he was lonely, because all the cattle in the field, all the beasts in the air, and everything that was made, they all had a companionship. They all had someone or another of their own kind to be with. And God saw that man was lonely, because man saw this comparison. He made a comparison of himself and the animals around him, and he said, whoa, they have. And he was by himself. And that is when man began to feel alone, and God saw that man was alone. But before God went ahead and made created a helpmate for man, He gave man some instructions. And one of the instructions was, He told man, He said, look now, in the garden, He placed man in this garden of Eden, this beautiful garden. See, God created all this for man and placed him inside of it and told him to take care of the garden. So, number one, He gave man work. Look, we as men are supposed to be working. That's the bottom line. If you can't work, you are supposed to be working, or you should be working somewhere. Bottom line. If you cannot work on the outside, right, say, okay, where you live, there should be some work going on there. Right? And I will show you that in a few minutes. Watch this. So God said unto man, look, I have created a few trees in this garden, and the first one is good to, when you look upon it, it's going to be pleasant to your eyes. Woo! Pleasant when you look at it, and it's going to be good for food. And then there's another one called a tree of life. And then there's another one called a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And God said unto man, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I do not want you to touch that tree. Stay away from that tree. Okay, so what are these trees? A tree good for food. All right. So even now, we have foods that's good for our bodies, that deals with our physical bodies, and that is what this tree is all about. The tree, it was pleasant to the eyes, and it's good for food. God told them the tree that is good for food is the tree that is pleasant to the sight. That means that those trees you should be looking at, right? So, in our physical right now, there are foods that's pleasant in our sight, and we should look at those foods. There are others that we should not even touch because it's not good for us. And later on in this teaching, we will discover what those foods are also. And then God said, there's a tree of life. A tree of life that sat in the midst of the garden. That tree is a representation of the Spirit of God, the tree of life. That tree would give man, or would give everlasting life to anyone who eats of it or who touches it. And we will discover that also in the next video. Then there's a tree of knowledge of good and evil, and God says leave that tree alone, because even though you may hear some good from it, behind what is being said that sounds good, there is some evil waiting, lingering behind it. So stay away from that tree. And even in our lives right now, if we turn all of this into a spiritual sense, and if we look at feeding the spirit man, yes, the tree that is pleasant to the sight, good for food, okay, that could represent knowledge and information that feeds our soul and actually builds us up, our spirit man, that lifts us beyond where we are at this moment. It is good for us to touch that, right? Even the tree of life, the tree of life, which God said it sat in the midst of the garden, right? Another spiritual leveling that's good for us, right? Now, the tree of knowledge of good and evil is also could be, is also knowledge, can represent knowledge. However, that knowledge is not good knowledge or knowledge that's good for us. It would be more or less like, let's say you are reading a book, right? That's giving you information. Okay, you got information. Okay, that's good. Now, watch this. Now, the information that it's giving you is taking you into a path that's not good for you. So, there you go. That is the evil. And so sometimes in our lives, when we are receiving information or knowledge about anything, we have to be aware of how this information will improve or help us to be better than where we are, and that it will take us where we should be. If not, do what God said unto Adam. Leave it alone. Do not touch that type of information. And so after God had given Adam that instruction, he said, oh, Adam, look, I have created all these cattle, all these beasts, all the birds in the field and everything. He gave Adam work. He said, Adam, I want you to name all of those. And Adam named it. In Genesis 2, it says that Adam named everything that's in the field. And everything that's from the smallest creeping animal to the biggest out there. Adam gave name to it. So he gave Adam work. So this is why I said earlier, man needs to work. If he can work, he needs to be working, taking care of himself first. When he's able to take care of himself, then he is able to take care of a family. Right? And so that's what God did. And so God said, hey, now back to I've seen that you are alone. So what did God do? He put Adam into a deep sleep. Man went into a deep sleep. He took a rib from man and he created woman. Adam woke up, saw a woman, and he said, whoa, I will call her woman because she has came out of me. Woman is a part of man. So he called her woman. Adam called her woman. God allowed it because God knew Adam was capable of naming. See, Adam had proved that when he named the animals. So we have to prove ourselves to God that we are able to do certain things. And when we have proven ourselves, God would give us more and more responsibilities. Now, God said, right, when Adam and the woman came together in Genesis 2:24, it is said, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they should be one flesh. That's the whole bottom line. For them to be one-minded, one thinking, one understanding, be one. This is what the marriage is all about. Right? Bible principle. The man and the woman are should be striving to become one. That's it. Walking in that oneness is the blessing in that marriage. Now watch this. Not to bring any offense to anyone, but enlightenment. The scripture says that a man leaves his father and his mother. That means he's leaving home. He's leaving home and he's going out to be a man, to take care of himself first. Then he's looking for a wife. Secondly, after he's able to take care of himself, he's established himself and put a shelter and everything over his head, like God did. Everything was already laid out. God showed us that, boom, garden was there, a home was there for them. Now, man now needs to go out, and once he's done this, he's leaving his mother and his father, and he's going to seek a woman. Watch this now. Bible principle. It says the man left in Genesis 2:24. He left home and he went to seek and cleave unto his wife. And they should be one flesh, right? So, question to you. The wife he saw was Eve. That's a woman. Right? Bible principle says that a man leaves home to seek out a woman. Right? Right. There is nothing else. He seeks out to leave a woman. Adam is not seeking out to leave to go look for another Adam. He seeked out and he left to look for a woman. And they become one flesh. And Bible says that in Genesis 1:25. Now it says that this is the great miracle in all of this. They were both naked, means they didn't have on any clothes, and they were not ashamed of looking at each other, and everything was okay. Now later on, as we read, we will find out that they became ashamed. Why did they become ashamed? They didn't want to look at each other anymore. It was shameful. Something happened. Something broke that oneness. When that oneness is there, they had that oneness with the Creator and the oneness with themselves, and they were not ashamed. We will find out why they were ashamed in the next lesson. Thank you for listening. And I hope this be a blessing unto you. Till next time. Thank you. Bye.